Well, hey there, and welcome to Milestone Mom. I am Erica Dorsey, pediatric developmental therapist, and have worked in the early intervention program for over a decade. And if you're sitting here right now watching this video, wondering if your baby or toddler might need early intervention services, then you are in the right place. And we have a lot to break down today. But I do want you to hear something very, very important before we even begin. You do not have to wait for an official diagnosis or confirmation that your baby is delayed in a certain area before you reach out and get help. If you have talked to a pediatrician and they have said, well, let's wait it out and see, but your mama's spidey senses is telling you something different, you can actually refer to the early intervention program if your little one is between the ages of birth and 3 years old. They will age out before their third birthday, the day before their third birthday, so keep that in mind. But I will go ahead and leave a link to that in the description below if you kind of feel like you're at your wit's end and you're ready just to make that referral, or if we get through some of these different 7 things that we're going to talk about today and you're like, I think I need to make the call, you can make the call as a parent. So just wanted to let you know that. And I'm here for you. If you have any questions before making the early intervention referral, please leave your questions down below, and I look at every single one of those and I will get back to you. So today we are going to walk through 7 specific signs that I pay close attention to as a pediatric developmental therapist. And I'm going to explain why they matter. And most importantly, I'm going to tell you exactly what you can do if you notice one of them. Okay, and before we jump in to number 1, I need to share a quick disclaimer with you. Seeing one of these signs does not automatically mean your baby has a delay or a diagnosis. Babies develop at drastically different rates, and there are so many reasons a baby might do something differently on a given day, or maybe they're excelling at gross motor, but not quite that language piece. So this video is simply designed to empower you, to help you know what is worth paying attention to, and when it might actually be helpful to get another set of eyes on your little one. So let's go ahead and look at our first slide here. And I want us to think of this first slide today as our roadmap. So let's go ahead and break these down step by step. So number 1, they're not making expected progress. So when I evaluate a little one, the very first thing I look at isn't always whether they've checked off the specific rigid milestone on a exact calendar date or on a milestone checklist. In fact, my test is made up of 5 different areas of development that are all pieced together. I like to say like that big puzzle piece. So I can look at the child as a whole, and it takes me about 45 minutes to get through my entire evaluation with the little one. So I'm looking at all those different pieces, and I'm also looking at progress over time, because development isn't a master checklist, like I've said, where every baby checks off the exact same skill at the exact same afternoon or the exact same date. Milestones in development are not linear, and you've heard me say that before. But what I want to see is your baby gradually gaining new abilities in their own rhythm, or organically, as we like to say. So don't just ask yourself, has my baby reached a specific milestone? Instead, I want you to ask yourself this: is my baby gaining new skills? For example, maybe your baby isn't crawling across the room yet, but they're getting significantly stronger during tummy time. Or maybe they aren't sitting independently without falling over, but they're starting to reach farther and farther and shift their weight and push through their arms, which is amazing. Maybe they aren't pulling up to stand at the couch, but they're bearing much more weight through their legs when you hold them. Those tiny, quiet, subtle changes and victories matter tremendously. And what actually concerns me as a developmental therapist is when a baby seems completely stuck. You aren't seeing any new skills emerging, maybe over days or months, their movement patterns, they aren't becoming coordinated, or you notice they've been doing the exact same thing for a long period without any changes. So that's when I would want to take a closer look at your little one. Now, sign number 2 is something parents notice quite often, but don't always realize is developmentally important. So your baby isn't using both sides of their body equally, can be cause for concern. We like to see little ones using their hands, their arms, their legs, their body bilaterally. So babies can absolutely have a favorite side. I want you to remember that. That is totally normal. But what I want to see is the ability to use both sides when prompted. For example, if your baby always turns their head to the right and rarely or is reluctantly looking toward the left, or if they consistently reach for every single toy with their right hand while their left hand stays tucked in, or if they roll over their right shoulder and never their left shoulder, those are patterns worth paying attention to. So when we look at symmetry, I want you to look for, is your little one turning their head in both directions? Are they reaching with both hands? Do they use both of their legs? Are they moving and rolling in different directions, both those left and right sides? We are looking for symmetry here. Often it's just a muscle tension issue like torticollis or a simple movement preference, but consistent asymmetry is something your pediatrician or early intervention provider should know about early on because it's so easy to address when they're little. So what about a little one that is struggling with movement or transitions? This is actually one of my absolute favorites because it gets missed in routine checkups all the time. As a developmental specialist, I'm not just interested in physical positions your baby can hold. I'm actually deeply interested in how they get there. Think about it this way. Your baby might sit beautifully once you physically place them upright on the floor, but can they get themselves into sitting on their own? And honestly, what are the prerequisites that need to happen ahead of time for them to be able to get themselves into a sitting position on their own? Can they transition from tummy into hands and knees? As babies develop strength and brain connections, they get better at moving between positions very, very smoothly. And remember, development isn't just positions. I want you to ask yourself, how does my baby get there? Because development isn't just static positions, it's fluid movements, like I kind of already alluded to. So if your baby can hold a position when you sit them up, but seems to completely be trapped there or stuck or don't have those reflexes once they get there, that is a classic sign that they need help building some of those transition pathways. Now, this number 4 focuses on social and emotional connection. Babies communicate and build social connections with us long before they ever produce their first real word. They look at eyes, they smile back when you smile, they coo and they make vocal responses. They mirror our facial expressions. They reach up for comfort or turn toward the sound of your voice. So if you are regularly trying to play with, talk to, or even interact with your baby, and they rarely look towards your face, rarely respond to your voice, rarely smile back, or seem consistently hard to connect with socially, that is definitely something worth noting, possibly bringing it up to your pediatrician, or as I like to teach you guys, definitely get a notebook and just keep observing, or even take those videos to show a professional. Now, I do want to pause here and reassure you, this isn't about whether your baby makes eye contact every single second of the day. Babies get overstimulated too. Babies get exhausted. Babies have different temperaments. So remember, as I'm teaching you this, look for the pattern, not one bad day, but what actually happens consistently. We aren't judging a single bad afternoon or a week where your baby was teething. We are actually looking for consistent overall patterns over time. The next one is communication building blocks. So we kind of alluded to a couple of these things in the last slide, but I think sometimes parents overlook this because they think, well, My baby is only 9 or 10 months old. They aren't supposed to talk yet. And that's so true. Words come later. But like I said, meaningful communication starts months and months before words actually arrive. So before words even come, you have eye contact, smiling, looking, reaching, gestures, sounds, babbling. Look at this as a hierarchy. Before words ever come, your baby communicates through raising their arms up because they want you to lift them up, reaching or pointing towards a toy that they want, making a specific vocal sound to get your attention across the room, looking back and forth between you and an object that you're playing with. We actually call that joint attention. Babbling back and forth with you like a real conversation. So if your baby is getting older and seems very quiet socially, rarely uses vocalizations to get your attention, or isn't developing those early gestures like waving or reaching, an early intervention evaluation could be warranted. And then moving on to number 6, loss of previously acquired skills. Maybe your baby was babbling the ba 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 sound and suddenly stopped making sounds altogether. Maybe they were rolling consistently from belly to back and suddenly stopped using that movement entirely. Maybe they were reaching for toys or waving, and that behavior has stopped. A loss of previously acquired physical, vocal, social skills is definitely something I never recommend you waiting on, especially if you see a pediatrician and they say, wait it out and see. I want you as a parent to call the early intervention program yourself. And again, I'll leave a link to the early intervention program in your state in the description below. Because if you notice a true regression of skills, I do not want you to hesitate. First, try and reach out to the pediatrician and let them know what's going on. Start taking videos or writing things down of what your little one was doing and what they're not doing now. I'll give you a really good example of what we see often. A lot of times it's around that 12 to 18 month mark. We'll go into a family's home for a possible speech delay, and the mom will say, they were waving, they were pointing, they started saying mama, dada. They're not doing any of those things anymore. And if that is your little one, you do need to reach out to early intervention so you can at least get an evaluation completed and see what's going on. Number 7, I think, is probably our biggest one. Your gut says something is off. And I tell moms all the time that you have to listen to that spidey sense. So even if you notice something in your little one, but everyone, even the pediatrician, saying, let's wait and see. Maybe you have a husband who's like, I don't see anything wrong. Or maybe a mom or an aunt or something is telling you, I don't see what you're seeing. But if you are really adamant and strong that you're seeing this, then you need to be the one to advocate for your little one, because you spend more time with your baby than any doctor or therapist or expert ever will. You know how they sleep. You know how they move when they're happy. You know how they interact with you during bath time or feedings. And sometimes you might not be able to put your clinical finger on exactly what is different. You just know in your gut that something feels off. You know your baby. You don't need to diagnose. You just need to start asking questions and let the professionals look into what you're seeing and what you're feeling. And I want you to hear me when I say this, mama to mama, face to face. Your gut does not have to be right 100% of the time for it to be worth asking these questions. You don't need to diagnose your little one. You don't need to figure out a treatment plan. You just need to be the person willing to ask the question. Hey, I'm noticing this. Can you take a look? Okay, let's talk about what you would do if you do notice any of these signs. We've kind of already talked about this a little bit, but I want you to write it down. Writing down and observing what you're seeing is so important. Put the dates, write it down. Take short videos. You know, if your little one was saying mama and dada previously and they're not anymore, you are able to show a pediatrician or a therapist that, hey, they used to say these words. Look, she's pointing at the ball, but she doesn't do that anymore. Short videos are amazing. Writing it down and observing And then truly, if you have any concerns, get that evaluation scheduled. The link is in the description below for you so you can find the early intervention program in your state. And I do want you to remember that getting an evaluation doesn't mean you're putting a label on your child. It is simply giving you information, and information gives you options to support your baby's unique growth. So if you actually want to go deeper into understanding how development fits together, I have created a 5-day workshop for you. It's called the Milestone Clarity Workshop, where we go over your expertise as a mom. You know your child better than anyone. Yes, we may come in with magic bags of toys, but you are your child's expert. We're going to talk about the 5 key areas of development, the ones that I test little ones on, that I say we don't look at each one of these separately, but how they fit together as a puzzle. And then we're also going to talk about the different milestones of play, understanding and spotting red flags, and then also understanding the early intervention program and what that looks like. So if you're interested in that workshop and spending some time with me, that link is in the description below. And remember, you are your baby or toddler's best advocate. And just by you being here, you are 110% supporting your little one. And if you're interested in continuing with the series, I want you to watch the next video that is called My Baby Scoots Backwards Instead of Crawling Forward. And we're going to deep dive into that, why they're doing that, and what you can do to help them move forward. So go ahead and click on that video in the description below, and I will see you over there. All right, bye-bye.